Do you suffer from the debilitating symptoms of chronic pain, swelling, and loss of joint motion due to arthritis? Are you taking drugs like Celebrex and Vioxx or other super aspirin prescriptions? If you are, you're increasing the risk of heart attack and stroke by up to 50%. This is Dr. Tom Roselle, host of Dr. Tom Roselle Live Sundays at 12 noon. Why live with pain or the dangerous side effects of drugs when the doctors at the Roselle Center for Healing, practicing 21st century integrative medicine, can help you experience relief like never before? Simple, safe, chiropractic, acupuncture, and nutritional care can provide significant relief from arthritic pain in less than 6 weeks. More than 70% of our patients experience a return to life far beyond their expectations. Give yourself the best gift possible, freedom from arthritic pain, naturally. Call today to schedule an appointment. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com.
Join Dr. Tom Roselle for a movie viewing of Ageless Health, the special. Ageless Health is a hard-hitting documentary based on the modernization of holistic health, natural care, and integrative medicine. You won't want to miss this Emmy Award-nominated documentary film. Proceeds benefit Caring for Others, Ltd. Ageless Health, the special, showing at the Angelica Film Center Mosaic in Fairfax, Virginia on Sunday, January 26th at 2 p.m. For tickets and more information, visit agelesshealthmovie.com.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live, right now, on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live in studio. Love to take your phone calls on any subject that you have in mind. We're here waiting for your phone calls at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. Love to talk to you. Give us a call. We have an interesting subject, but before we get into that, and the person that's going to help present that subject, somebody who's an expert in our practice, nevertheless, want to remind you that coming up today, Sunday, the 26th of January, we are going to be at the Mosaic Angelica Film Center, and we're going to be presenting the twice Emmy-nominated award documentary, Ageless Health. It's the work that we do. It's how we do what we do. It's we were flattered over a year ago when the PBS, WIDA, did a 90-minute documentary on our work, and we're here to present it to you. But we're doing it as a fundraiser, if you will, for Caring for Others, the foundation, 501c3 that helps indigent, homeless, provides scholarships, public information to those that can't afford anything. And we'd love to have you with us today. Meet me directly after the program at the Angelica Film Center. I'm going to be there. I'm going to present the movie to you. We're going to do the movie, and then I'm going to be there to answer questions and kind of put it all together for you. Love to have you there. It's $10. That's all we're asking for. And if you bring 4 guys, then there's a discount. So you can get 4 tickets for $30, and if you bring a whole crew like Levin, it's only $75. All of that money, every last cent, that $10 that you're going to buy that ticket for, goes to Caring for Others, and 100% of all the money that goes in is used for the purposes that they've set forth. So we'd love to have you there today. Come and see this absolutely amazing, startling documentary on integrative healthcare. These people that are pictured in the presentation in the documentary are people who had suffered significantly with very degenerative, debilitating conditions, MS, seizure patterns, anaphylaxis, TIAs, mini strokes, ADD, ADHD, pain patterns that just don't go away. And the beauty is that they've been under medical care for years with absolutely no resolution whatsoever, and under conservative care of acupuncture, nutrition, chiropractic care, applied kinesiology, they were totally resolved. They went into full remission, and no drugs, no surgical interventions, nothing. It was done naturally. Love to have you with us. Love to meet you. For those of you who are there, and if you buy one of my books, Ageless Health, that money goes to Caring for Others as well, and I'll be there to sign it for you and shake your hand. So join us this afternoon at the Angelica Film Center in the Mosaic in Merrifield, Virginia. Come over and say hey, and enjoy it with us. Nothing else to do. It's cold outside. You either got to stay home or you can come play with us. So come play with us. We're going to be talking about an interesting subject today, and in studio to talk about that is my boss, Sue, many of you know her. Sue's the head of our nutrition department and functional medicine department in our office. We're going to be talking about food addiction and what that happens. There's a lot of us that, we can't stop eating certain things, and, subsequently it changes our whole metabolic pathways. It changes how we function. We have these cravings. We can't leave things alone. But it's a combination of things. It's emotional. It's physiological. The nervous system goes crazy. And, so Sue's been preparing for a presentation that she's going to do in California next week, and she's the keynote for Overeaters Anonymous. FAA. I'm sorry. What does that mean?
Food Addicts Anonymous.
Food Addicts Anonymous. Yeah, I'm an addict too, but when it comes to her cooking, it's amazing stuff. But anyway, she's going to be the presenter next week and the keynote for that presentation. But we're going to talk about that subject today. Sue, let's talk a little bit about that. First of all, is the people who have, is it more than just a want? I love that food. I want to eat it. Or is it, something that they just can't help themselves?
No, it is definitely an addiction for the longest time, and much to the sadness for the people who have food addictions. It was considered something, just a willpower problem. They're just gluttons. They should just stop eating. There's no reason for them to continue doing it, and why do they do it if they keep gaining weight, and all this kind of nonsense. And historically, for some reason, we have ignored the fact that certain foods or certain substances in foods can be addictive. As early as the early 1800s, there were some pretty astute physicians, particularly over in France and England, who noticed that certain patients of theirs would just eat enormous amounts of floury and sugary foods and gain tremendous amount of weight. And they couldn't seem to stop doing it. And actually the first, quote, diet for weight loss was developed in 1825 over in France by, believe it or not, a gourmet.
A gourmet.
A gourmet.
A gourmet weight loss.
A gourmet chef. And he was the first to claim that obesity was the result of excessive consumption of starchy and floury foods, particularly when combined with sugar. And other people over the years would notice that. In England, there was a doctor named Dr. Banting who also noticed that certain patients of his would eat enormous amounts of floury, sugary foods and couldn't stop, no matter how hard they tried. And, of course, the end result was that these people at least got the idea that if they told the patients to get away from it and stop eating it, they would be better. And to whatever extent the person was able to, they did get some improvement.
So the question that comes into my mind is this the same type of situation as an opiate addiction?
Absolutely. And that's where this is all leading to. For years in the 1900s, we've put our focus on the addictive qualities of alcohol, the addictive qualities of cocaine and heroin and morphine and other narcotics. And the question always came, why is it that some people can drink a glass of wine and be perfectly happy and other people become alcoholic? And those people that become alcoholic, no matter how hard they try to keep it under control, if they drink, they will get drunk, and they will become a continual drinking situation.
Well, we know that. We see that in the practice all the time. There are people who are so predisposed to alcohol that they can't have anything that has
any
alcohol in it because it triggers the responses.
And the same with drugs.
But the situation that exists has to be similar with food addiction in that, and particularly since you're talking about carbohydrates and sugars, because they rapidly convert into alcohol.
Right.
They convert to sugar, and sugar ferments and becomes alcohol. The same type of thing that we deal with patients who have candida, mold, fungus problems, because the side, if you will, the spin-off of mold and fungus cycle and replication in the body is aldehyde, which is an alcohol.
It is, but this goes a step further. Because the scientists began to wonder what the difference was, and of course is our abilities to explore the brain and its workings and the chemistry of the brain and do genetic testing and things like that, they actually found that there is a difference in the brains among people who are addicted to drugs, who are alcoholics, and finally they're beginning to understand that it's the same for those people who have food addictions. There is a glitch in the gene that regulates how a neurotransmitter called dopamine functions in the brain. And dopamine is a very powerful reward. This is what makes us feel good. This is what gives us the happy juices, as I like to call them, when we eat stuff or we drink alcohol or whatever.
Here's the defining question that a lot of people I know that are sitting there asking the question, and they'll say, well, I come home at nighttime and I want a glass of whatever it is. I want a drink. I want a glass of wine. I want whatever it is. And they need that in their brain, their mind, to let the day go by and relax and, just calm down and
Sure.
so forth. And they may have a glass and a half. During the day, they don't look at it, but they come back at it every night and they want that glass of wine. Then there's the other person that is always looking for something that has alcohol in it, something that converts into sugar so it raises their alcohol level. Is that the same, or are those two different processes?
Those are two different processes. The person that can have a drink of have a glass of wine at the end of the day to relax and be perfectly happy with the one glass of wine, those people are handling it well, and they don't have this difference in their brain. The people who are addicted to substances actually have a blunting or a lesser reward center signaling. They don't produce as much dopamine. Another neurotransmitter involved is serotonin, which is your calming hormone, calming neurotransmitter. And for whatever the reason is, and generally it's genetically driven, the rewards don't come as clearly to those people that are addicted, and so they keep trying to get that comfortable feeling, that release of tension, that feel good, that high situation, but it doesn't come. And so they keep going back to it and back to it and back to it.
Well, so here's a situation that you and I both know that the majority of neurotransmitters are produced in the intestinal tract. Some authors will say, 75%, 70% GABA, serotonin, dopamine. Now, there's two thoughts there. One, that all of these guys that are produced there, even if they're produced at high enough levels, don't have an effect on the brain. And they can't cross that blood-brain barrier.
Right.
There's a lot of argument in the scientific community about that. Some say, yeah, absolutely, if the gut doesn't work and you're not producing enough from the intestinal tract, no matter what you do, you're not going to be able to regulate the brain without modulators,
right?
Drugs and so forth.
Right.
So what's your thought of that?
Well, again, serotonin specifically is like that. About 95% of it's made in the gut, and it's really not used for the brain. That 95% is used for all kinds of other things in the body, with the cardiovascular system, the endocrine system, the immune system, the digestive system. All of these are affected by the body-produced serotonin in the intestinal tract, but the brain cannot get that serotonin from the body to cross over. And so the brain has to make whatever serotonin it's going to have right directly in the brain. And there lies a problem as well, because the substances necessary to make serotonin in the brain are also having a hard time getting in, and we're often depleted of them. The most common one is tryptophan. That's an amino acid that's in all the protein foods, but it has to compete with any other kind of an amino acid to get to the brain in order to help produce the brain-formed serotonin. B6 is also essential in that, but yet B6 is used for so many different processes in the body that most of the time people are deficient in that particular B vitamin.
Well, B6, magnesium, which are two essential steps in combining with tryptophan to produce serotonin and to get your body to relax a little bit, are necessary to make that happen. The thing that is that, again, we're talking about the controversy that's out there right now, where there are a lot of authors, nutritional authors, that are saying that they want to bypass the actual component itself and give an amino acid sequence to actually produce that, because they say that the amino acids will actually get through that barrier and trigger the mechanism both in the gut and the brain. And that's something that I want to follow up on, it because it's something that you're using with weight loss patients, and you and I have gone back and forth, and we'll play with that a little bit. We're coming close to a break, and what we need to do is remind our listeners of a couple things. One, we canceled Dr. Matt Adams' presentation last week on constipation and irritable bowel and intestinal tract problems. If we actually didn't cancel it, we rescheduled it for this Wednesday. So if you'd like to attend, and you were going to attend last week and the snow wiped you out and you didn't want to get out of the house, this is your opportunity this week, 7:30 p.m. at the Roselle Center for Healing in Fairfax. All you need to do is call us at 703-698-7117. That's 703-698-7117, and join Dr. Matt, and we'll be delighted to see you. We're coming up to the break, and we're going to put a bookmark in what we're talking about. We'll be right back after these messages. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live.
Did you know that routine mammograms can increase radiation exposure to breast tissue 1,000 times over a chest X-ray? Now consider a simple, non-invasive, and totally safe medical procedure approved by the FDA since 1982 that can detect breast cancer 5 to 8 years before it can be visualized on a mammogram. Infrared thermographic imaging can accurately detect the initial signs of breast cancer as increased blood supply and metabolic rate, which is recorded as heat. Why expose yourself to radiation when accurate and safe medical detection is available? Call the Thermography Center of Fairfax to schedule a breast exam today at 703-948-7248. That's 703-943-7248. For more information, visit www.thermographyscan.net. That's thermographyscan.net for the Thermography Center of Fairfax.
The Roselle Center for Healing is a proud supporter of breast cancer awareness and reminds you to conduct a monthly breast self-examination and a thermographic breast scan as part of your annual wellness checkup.
This is Dr. Tom Roselle. After 35 years of practice and almost 750,000 patient visits, the Roselle Center for Healing knows what works and knows how you can take control of your health and wellness. My team of doctors practice 21st century integrative medicine. Whether you suffer from chronic pain and fatigue, allergies, or headaches, we can help. Take charge of your health before it's too late. Make an appointment today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com. This is Dr. Tom Roselle, author of Ageless Health. Health is a do-it-yourself program. My book, now also available in audio version, is a step-by-step program of how to take control of your health and wellness without drugs or needless surgery. You have the capacity to change your health and level of well-being. Take control of your health today and order Health is a do-it-yourself program.
For more information and to order, please visit agelesshealthbook.com. That's agelesshealthbook.com.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live in studio. I'd love to talk to you on any subject that you have in mind. Give us a call at 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. And immediately after the show, when we're all done, I'm headed over to the Angelica Film Center at the Mosaic in Merrifield, Virginia. It's right off the National Capital Beltway. Why? Because we're going to be showing Ageless Health, the TV special, the two-time Emmy Award-nominated production, a 90-minute documentary on our work. We'd love to have you there. It's $10 per ticket. All of the proceeds, 100%, goes to Caring for Others, a 501c3 foundation that is totally dedicated to helping those who have nothing. And 100% of that money goes to what they do. There's no administrative cost. So please join us. I'll be there. And if you happen to buy a book and that money goes to Caring for Others as well, I'll be personally there to sign it for you. So 2 o'clock at the Angelica Film Center. Love to have you. Join us in studio right now. My boss, my wife, Sue Roselle, we're talking about food addiction and why some people can have something and get away with it, and some people sit there and they go crazy until they find it. So, Sue, let's talk a little bit about that. How does that happen? I mean, this is it affects the reward centers of the brain.
It does.
And so, somebody wants something, but it doesn't satisfy them. And they get a little bit and they want more. They get a little bit more and they want more, and they can sit there until they explode.
Right.
How does that work?
Well, again, in a true food addict, there are certain foods, particularly sugars of various forms and fast-acting carbs, your mantra, floury things, particularly. If you're allergic to certain foods, that can also do it. That, for whatever the reason, there's a little genetic glitch in the brain of that particular individual, and the rewards doesn't work the same way as it does in people who don't have that addiction problem. Sugar specifically, and even more important, high fructose corn syrup will be very addictive to a person that has this biochemical uniqueness. It stimulates the reward center through dopamine. It also stimulates it through serotonin. And what they've found in brain scans is that when people consume sugary and plastic fat foods and things like that, it lights up the same places that heroin and morphine do in the brain. They also show that there's fewer reward receptors. In other words, the targets that those chemicals, those neurotransmitters, should be tickling to give you that feel-good feeling, there are not as many of them, or they don't perceive the stimulation as well as other people. So a person that has a tendency towards addiction is not going to get the same level of reward as someone who does not have that addiction. So they keep wanting to get more and more to get that good feeling.
Well, Sue, how about, years ago we used to talk about an alcoholic that, had a drink and they got to the place where even people who were not necessarily addicted to the alcohol, but if they drank long enough, they would develop what we affectionately called receptor sites. And so the more receptor sites that you developed over a period of time, the more alcohol that you craved, or things that converted into alcohol to lock up to those receptor sites. Mm-hmm. And the whole idea was to keep them away from the alcohol or the things that converted into alcohol long enough that the receptor sites would begin to diminish. Is this the same concept? Or are there
Same concept.
Okay.
Same concept, except those receptor sites don't work the same way. So that the person who has a tendency, whether they've become an alcoholic or a drug addict or a food addict at that point, they have a greater tendency for this to happen. It's kind of like a numbing effect. If you're in an area, remember there was a town we used to drive through going up to your hometown that was a paper mill. And that town smelled atrocious.
Just outside of St. Mary's, Pennsylvania.
Oh, my word. We'd go through there, and you almost didn't want to breathe the whole time you were driving through. And I wondered how people could ever stand to live there. Well, what happens is your nose, thankfully, in the presence of obnoxious substances, goes numb. And after a few minutes, you don't smell that smell as intensely as you did.
Well, that has to do with the RAS system, too, the reticular activating system.
So you leave the area, your nose comes back to normal, and you come back to the smelly town, and it's just as bad as it was before. The same thing happens in the way of addictive substances, whether it's a sugar, an alcohol, or a drug.
So we're coming up to the break in the news, and this is a topic that's not only fun to talk about, but a lot of people, I'm sure, that are in that place, and they want to know how to fix it. We're going to come back, and we're going to get into this in depth. Don't go away. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle Live. Stay tuned. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. After 35 years of practice and almost 750,000 patient visits, the Roselle Center for Healing knows what works and knows how you can take control of your health and wellness. My team of doctors practice 21st century integrative medicine. Whether you suffer from chronic pain and fatigue, allergies, or headaches, we can help. Take charge of your health before it's too late. Make an appointment today. Call 703-698-7117 or visit online at rosellecare.com. This is Dr. Tom Roselle, author of Ageless Health, Health is a Do-It-Yourself Program. My book, now also available in audio version, is a step-by-step program of how to take control of your health and wellness without drugs or needless surgery. You have the capacity to change your health and level of well-being. Take control of your health today and order Health is a Do-It-Yourself Program.
For more information and to order, please visit agelesshealthbook.com. That's agelesshealthbook.com.
If you're looking for the best in natural health, wellness, and green living products, shop the Roselle Web Store on Amazon.com. You'll find a variety of products and resources that are designed to help achieve an ultimate state of health and wellness. Shop the Roselle Web Store on Amazon.com today. Visit drtomroselle.com and click on Roselle Web Store. That's drtomroselle.com and click on Roselle Web Store.
Educate, engage, Empower. Take control of your health with Dr. Tom Roselle and the Roselle Center for Healing. Information is power. Achieve an ultimate state of wellness with Dr. Tom Roselle's Education Lecture Series Video on Demand. Discover how to create an extraordinary life of optimal health and wellness. Visit drtomroselle.com/education. That's drtomroselle.com/education.
Dr. Tom Roselle Live continues now on 105.9 FM and AM 630 WMAL.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You're listening to Dr. Tom Roselle live in studio. Love to take your phone calls. 888-630-9625. That's 888-630-9625. We're talking about food addiction and how it affects all of us in different ways, but there is a biochemical reason that you can't stop eating the stuff that you can't stop eating. I want to remind you that coming up this Wednesday evening in office at 7:30 p.m., we rescheduled Dr. Matt Adams' presentation that was supposed to happen during the snowstorm last week. So if you'd like to join us, if you're constipated, if you have irritable bowel problems, if you have colitis, if you have any of those things and you've been suffering with them, you're on medications to control them, there is a way out. Join us. Call our office, Roselle Center for Healing, 703-698-7117, 703-698-7117. Tell my staff that you'd like to attend, and we'll be there, and we'd love to have you and help you out and show you that there's a way of fixing things, and you don't have to just put up with stuff. We're talking about an interesting process, and I call it a process simply because it's one that kind of feeds on itself and to a place where you don't know which way to turn. But before we get back to that, Sue, we do have a caller or two, and I'd like to bring them into the discussion because it is on topic. Robert from Bristow, how can we help you, sir? Thank you for holding.
Well, I noticed something about this years ago. I've been a compulsive overeater all my life, and one thing that was interesting, my mother at one point said, "Oh, I'll keep you so stuffed full of food you won't even think about having another bite." And then she would stuff me to the rafters with bird seed and rabbit food, and I would be going out of my. I would be so full I couldn't get another lettuce leaf in, but I would be going out of my mind. Then,
those foods didn't boost. They didn't give you the hit you were looking for.
No, they didn't. But here's the interesting thing. I always wondered if there was a biochemical aspect to this, but I noticed something because I'll eat stuff and then my appetite does not turn off and I still want it. But if I have a normal breakfast, I'll stop at a fast food place, for example, and I will get what I consider a normal breakfast, which would be like one egg and one slice of cheese, one slice of sausage, and hash browns, and a small orange juice. That, to me, is a reasonable breakfast. I would be kind of okay, but if I added, and at the end of that meal, if I ate 2 side orders of sausage, just 2 slices of sausage, the greasy sausage, now my appetite's turned off. I can actually forget. It'll be 11 o'clock at night before I haven't eaten since breakfast. How about that? And
okay.
And the sugar aspect of it, too, but the greasy fat part is more. And I came up with something I call the crap diet. If you need, let us get
into it a little bit, Robert. We're getting on several different topics here, so let's handle one at a time, and then we can go through that. I appreciate it. So you want to jump in and take that?
In fact, the high fat that you're talking about and those salty, greasy foods, that also has the same stimulating effect on the brain as the sugary, floury things do. Now, this takes us into another tangent because not only are we talking about chemicals in the brain and receptor sites that don't work as well for those chemicals that should make you feel good and satiated, feedback loops in people who have addictions don't work. So you may have eaten plenty of calories, but your feedback loop that tells your brain there's been enough food isn't working as well. And that is associated with some other hormones in the body that can often be upset. Fatty foods, particularly in combination with salt, are what they call the highly palatable foods. This is your junk food stuff. Also serve to raise your body's own ability to create opiates. Okay, remember Doc has said over the time, our body makes all the drugs that it needs throughout our lifetime. Well, our bodies make substances called endorphins. That gives you the high. That's what people talk about when they are runners and that. And opiates. Yeah, and opiates are produced. Well, this gets into that whole thing about the manufacturers. They have purposely studied food substances that are addictive in their content. In other words, they know if they put a certain combination of these certain chemicals together with a starchy food or a fatty food or a sugar food, all of a sudden you're going to get such a blast of a reward that you can't possibly ignore it. This is why people are hooked on junk food and hooked on fast foods. Keeping away from any of the chemical processes is extremely important. Manufacturers do not care about your bottom line. They care about their bottom line.
Oh, yeah.
And they want you to buy their products, and they want you to eat them, and the more you eat, the happier they are. That's where the supersize came from.
Supersize. So let me jump in here for a second, Sue. And the addictive patterns of fructose corn syrup and the other items are in there, and that's what goes to those brain centers.
Absolutely.
And it's an addictive process. Somebody has that sort of situation in any food that they're putting in their body, they're going to form an addiction faster than any other food on the marketplace.
Absolutely. And even people who don't necessarily have a predilection towards an addictive problem, in other words, they don't have reduced receptors in the brain, they do have normal neurotransmitter function, their bodies are basically working in a rather harmonious way as far as the feedback loops are working. When they get a hold of these foods, they get hooked on them the same way because they are like a drug. And in fact, when they've done studies on these substances and using drugs that block drug receptors in the brain, all of a sudden the person loses their desire for it.
It's amazing what happens with any kind of foods or drinks, or the lack of food in some situations will cause that type of craving as well. So when you don't feed your body properly, it's like you're going to crave other things as well. You go into that vicious cycle that your body needs something and it just can't get it, so it's going to tell you that it's going to get it. Listen, we're going to go to another call. Lee, are you sitting there waiting on for us?
Hello.
Hi. Thanks for holding.
I realize that decaffeinated tea and, let's say, coffee have some caffeination in it. But in general, do decaffeinated teas have the same beneficial effect as caffeinated? Because when they say, oh, drink this tea like green tea and drink this other tea, elderberry, whatever it is. But if you do want to avoid the caffeine, if one drinks a decaffeinated drinks, well, particularly the
well, let me. I got your point. So let me answer it this way, and then Sue will jump in. The professional jury is out in a couple different ways. First of all, when you decaffeinate by a methylation process, then you increase your risk of all kinds of other problems, particularly to the proximal portion of the pancreas. You increase your risk of pancreatic cancer because of the methylation portion of decaffeination. However, when you water decaffeinate, you don't have the same risk. Now, are the benefits when it comes to green tea? There's a lot of science out there that says that you have to drink green tea caffeinated, because once you decaffeinate it, you lose the antioxidant impact to the body. Coffee, for most people, even though you have all the studies out there that are saying it's great for your brain and your memory and so forth, is inflammatory to most people. It causes any injury to show up. It causes that wall that we're talking about to be built up so you can't transmit across it. Sue, I know you have some thoughts on that are somewhat different than where I'm going with it.
Well, no. I think what happens when you decaffeinate green and black tea is you lose a lot of the antioxidant processes in that whole thing. On the other hand, for some people, drinking caffeine is it's poison to them. So they have to make their decision. All right, you can get good antioxidants in herbal teas as well that use different fruit extracts and so forth. White tea will give you very much the same amount of antioxidants as green tea, but it doesn't have hardly any caffeine in it. Red tea, the African ribose red bush tea, has 0 caffeine, but the same complement of antioxidants as green tea. So there's other options there. The point is, caffeine in a very small amount may not be an issue if you're not super sensitive to it. And that means if you can drink a cup of coffee, a normal size cup, that's 8 ounces, not 24, at 7 o'clock in the morning, you maybe have no trouble sleeping. On the other hand, some people are so sensitive to caffeine.
And here's where Sue and I will go back and forth on the effects of coffee. Now, understand that regular teas and coffee have equal amounts of caffeine. The threshold response is different. One spikes more than the other, but the bottom line is for me, is whether or not a substance produces an inflammatory response in the body. Inflammation is the killer. Inflammation causes your joints to hurt. It causes your heart not to work the way it's supposed to. It causes your brain to be anxious. And if you have that inflammatory level, then you're going to crave other things that you have to substitute. Caffeine, by nature of what it is dehydrating. It takes all kinds of water out of the system. And if you're not drinking organic coffees and coffees that are at least neutral and not acidic, you're creating a whole other cascade, because coffee is acidic unless it's organic Kona coffee, which is at least neutral. It's not alkaline, but it's neutral, and it's expensive. So you have a choice to make in the kind of substance that you put in your body. But broad brush simply states that if it is decaffeinated, particularly in the teas, that your antioxidant levels are not going to be as powerful, not going to be as strong. And if it's not water decaffeinated, you run a risk of damage to other areas of your body simply because of the chemistry that's used to decaffeinate.
And there's another component to the green tea. It not only has less caffeine than black tea and coffee, it also has things that modulate the negative impact of caffeine. So some people are okay with the green teas, but there's a lot of other options. You aren't just stuck with one single item. Mother Nature's kind of cool about things like that. If you can't do one kind of food, you can get a lot of the same nutrients from other sources just as easily and won't cause havoc in your system.
But white teas are great.
They are.
You have pomegranate teas. You have all kinds of things out there that you can use. The whole idea is, one, get things that are going to be supportive to your body in the way that they were intended to be supportive, and make sure that they're organic so you don't have to deal with all the pesticides and all the garbage that they put in things. And so you're not hurting your body. You're trying to do something good, but you're also creating a problem. So let's get on a little bit more into this. This is a topic you're going to spend a whole bunch of hours presenting in California, and we've got less than an hour here to talk about it.
I know.
So let's talk about how all this addictive process and patterning goes on.
Well, being a reader, I love to be able to give people things to look at, things to read that will give them some answers that they may be searching for. And unfortunately, the Internet is a mixed blessing. It's got some fantastic information. It's also got a bunch of garbage on it. And it's very hard if you aren't familiar with what the topics are completely. You can get taken down the tangent pretty darn easy.
Yeah, but don't you know, Sue, if it's on the Internet, it's true?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. There is actually a couple of good references that if anybody wants to understand how the addictive substances work in the body and are being used by our manufacturers, David Kessler, who used to be the head of the FDA, when he got out of there, was appalled at the chemistry that goes into our packaged processed foods, our fast foods, and our convenience foods, to the extent that he actually wrote a book called The End of Overeating, and he goes into depth about how these chemicals addict us and connect us to it. And actually there was an article not too long ago on the Internet about Oreos being as addictive as cocaine. I think it was on Mercola's website.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you can't eat one.
Yeah, exactly.
You sit there, in the old days with a quart of milk and a package of Oreos, and you wipe them out.
They did a study using those Oreos with PET scans, and lo and behold, it lit up those reward centers like fireworks. And this is one of the reasons. When you combine sugar and salt and fat and starch, which is just about anything you get at a fast food place or out of a bag or a box.
Your brain says yum.
Your brain goes ballistic, and so does your body. You start making all kinds of happy chemicals, and they make you feel good. Actually, believe it or not, chocolate-covered potato chips at Whole Foods.
Yeah, and
Give me a break.
And hold that thought. We'll be right back after some very important messages. Don't go away.
WMAL-FM Woodbridge, Washington. WMAL Washington. WRQX HD2, Washington.
Welcome back. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. You listen to Dr. Tom Roselle live every week at 12 o'clock right here at the same old place on your dial. We're here to bring you the most intimate information in integrative and alternative healthcare therapies. All you need to do is get a hold of us here at the program by calling 888-630-9625, or you can get a hold of us by going to our website. Go to rosellecare.com. That's ROSELLECARE.com. If you'd like to talk to one of my doctors faster than sending an email, then call us at 703-698-7117. And that's the number that you're going to call for Dr. Matt Adams' presentation on bowel problems, constipation, colitis, irritable bowel disease, any of those things that, you're suffering with, and you think that, moving your bowels once every 4 or 5 days is normal. Not so much, my friends, when you should be going after every meal. Love to have you as our guest. All you need to do is call for a reservation, 703-698-7117. And immediately following Dr. Tom Roselle Live today, the Angelica Film Center at the Mosaic in Merrifield is going to be showing Ageless Health, the twice Emmy Award-nominated documentary on our work. And we'd love to have you there. I will be there. Love to shake your hand and meet you. $10 for a ticket. It all goes to Caring for Others, a 501c3 foundation charity that helps those who really have nothing, and they need your help. So join us today. I'd love to meet you. I'd love to talk to you. Sue Roselle, my boss, is here in the studio with me, and we're talking about food addiction. Before we get that, Sue, and we'll wrap it up, there has been a caller that's kind of been sitting there for quite some time. Diane, thank you for sitting and being patient. How can I help you?
Thank you. I heard you say there are medications to control ulcerative colitis. Would you mind telling me what they are, please?
No, you must have misunderstood me. There's a lot of medications that people are being put on in an attempt to control them, from the old drugs like azofadines, but some of them are sulfides, some of them are steroids, some of them are immune modulators, antibiotics, and so forth.
I'm not on anything. I'm not taking anything for it.
Good. Well, there's a lot of things that can be done in a natural sense, but you have to look at the why behind it. The whys are things like, the nervous system's not working. You could be allergic to glutens. You could have other things that are living in the gut that shouldn't be there, bad abnormal bacteria, parasites, and so forth. So you have to look at it in a holistic way. But we'd love to talk to you about that. Join us Wednesday evening, and we'll get into it in depth. Thank you for calling, Diane. I appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
There's some key things that people need to know about this.
Let's talk about it. We got a couple minutes. We got to wrap it up.
This will just take a couple minutes. Okay. First of all, if you have a predilection to becoming addicted to stuff, all right, you can develop a tolerance over time to sugar and fatty foods and need more and more and more to satisfy them. This is where you can't eat one, all right? This can happen to any of us if we're constantly in junk food stuff. People who are addicted to these foods actually go through a physical withdrawal the same as they do with drugs and alcohol when that's removed. And initially they might get a feeling of enjoyment from the foods that they're getting into, but after a while they have to keep eating those foods just to feel normal. They no longer have a high from it. And those are characteristics of an addictive situation, and we have it throughout our country. It's been brought out even worse with this experiment of low-fat, high-carbohydrate diet that we've all been on, and we're still understanding more and more.
Well, I'm going to throw something out there very quickly before we leave the program. My feeling, my opinion, I want to get that straight. Manufacturers are smart in their marketing. They know it's addictive.
Absolutely.
And they know how to trigger those situations. And bear that in mind, my friends. Marketing is great. It's a beautiful situation. This is Dr. Tom Roselle. Meet me over at the Angelica Film Center in the Mosaic. I'll see you in about 45 minutes. Bye-bye.
Are you dental phobic? Do you neglect your dental health because of fear and anxiety? A beautiful smile begins with exceptional dental care, and you can trust in the expertise of Soft Touch Dental Care and Dr. Michael Chung. Soft Touch Dental Care is unlike any dentist office you'll ever experience. Their warm and welcoming environment is designed to soothe fears and anxiety the moment you arrive, and they're especially pleased to pamper their honored guest patients. Dr. Michael Chung is a professional and leading expert in all areas of comprehensive dentistry, including cosmetic, sedation, neuromuscular, TMJ, and implant dentistry. Offering state-of-the-art technology, Dr. Chung can give you the smile of your dreams. Arrange for a complimentary consultation today with Dr. Michael Chung and experience the expertise that makes Dr. Michael Chung so unique. Call 703-319-6990. That's 703-319-6990. Or visit bestinsmile.com. That's bestinsmile.com.